Welcome to Securing America with me, Frank Gaffney, the program that's a kind of owner's manual for protecting the country we love against all enemies, foreign and domestic, to the glory of God and His kingdom. We're going to be talking about a subject that is complicated, yes, but very important, especially at a moment such as this. The president of Ukraine has been in the United States of late at the United Nations and in Washington, D.C. He has now gone up to Canada to address a session of their parliament. He is pleading for continued support for his country and cause. And a man who has been studying closely the nature of that cause, the nature of Ukraine's needs, and the dangers that are associated with a failure to meet those needs, is a colleague of mine at the Center for Security Policy, Andrei Illarionov. He has an extraordinary background that has, I think, equipped him to provide some very important insights into not only what's going on in Ukraine, but what is going on in the country that invaded Ukraine at the behest of a man that Andrei previously worked for, Vladimir Putin. Andrei is an economist by training. He served as the chief economist for the Russian Federation prior to Vladimir Putin's ascendancy to power, and during a number of years under his leadership. He parted ways. He is one of the few who have done so and lived to tell the tale, and he is a man whose courage and clarity on a whole host of issues involving this particular conflict and more is much needed at the moment. Andrei, we appreciate you being with us. Thank you for joining us here at Securing America, and I'd be very keen to get your take on the state of play at the moment in Ukraine against the backdrop of what we've been hearing from Mr. Zelensky in the past few days.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Frank, for inviting me. I would be glad to talk about issues that are in the center of the public attention here in the United States and actually around the world.
Great. Let me start by just saying we're hearing a lot about problems within Ukraine, problems of leadership, problems of corruption, problems of the misuse or sales to the black market of military equipment that has been sent there by us and by others. Just give us, sort of your appraisal of the ground truth on those sorts of questions at the moment.
Yes, those problems have been discussed extensively in the United States and some other places, including Ukraine. And approximately a couple of months ago, there was some publications of the results of investigation and oversight activities about the correctness of the use of military aid provided by the United States to Ukraine. From that report, it appears that at least two cases of misappropriation of the military aid have been detected. In one case, the inspectors found that about 1,000 bullets that have been provided by the United States have been redirected not to the organization that is originally scheduled. 1,000 bullets out of millions or tens of millions of munitions that have been sent to Ukraine. And in the other case, something about 10,000 of military aid of amount about 10,000 US dollars also have been directed not to the right direction. That's all. All two questions have been mentioned. There is no more cases for almost 20 billion US dollars of military aid that United States has sent to Ukraine since February 24th last year. Um, Certainly, nothing should be satisfactory, but these two cases looks like a relatively small amount compared to the size of all operations and compared to the size and the intensity of the war in which Ukraine is involved right now.
This is stunning news because we have been relentlessly told that enormous quantities of aid has been misappropriated, funds misspent. People are now being fired by the president of Ukraine, Zelensky, including the senior leadership of the military in Ukraine, over what seems to be evidence of corruption. Are you saying that really there is no such evidence, or that it's just being wildly overblown, presumably for political purposes, rather than the actual facts of the case?
Um, First of all, what I just said right now, this is a confirmed cases, and this is from the report that has been prepared by the U.S. inspectors, not by anyone. And those reports concerning the U.S. aid provided to Ukraine. It does not mean that all resources that have been used by Ukrainian government is only U.S. aid, or we're not talking about aid from other countries. We're not talking about the purchases that Ukrainian government are making on other markets and how they used their own money. Certainly, we don't know everything, but it appears that the approach to these different elements of the resources are slightly different. So,
This is really important, and it goes to the next question, which is, if the aid is in fact getting to where it is going, it's supposed to go, that is it being used effectively as you see it? The war, this counteroffensive in particular, has not produced the kinds of results that had been hoped for. Um, are we at a point where there's a stalemate that must be addressed by other nations sort of dictating peace terms to the Ukrainians, do you think? And what would the implications be if that were to be done?
as for effectiveness of use of the U.S. military aid to Ukraine, I think it's appropriate to mention the quotation from Mitt Romney, Republican senator and the former candidate for the U.S. presidency. A week ago, he mentioned that, uh, according to him, if Ukraine is using about 5% of the U.S. Defense budget, and by using those resources is destroying substantial portion of Russian military machine, for which during the Cold War, United States spent hundreds of millions, billions of dollars. So it could be pretty effective use of this military aid. But and he was saying that it was 5% of annual defense expenditures. I looked into these numbers, and I need to say that in actually the whole military aid that has been given by the United States to Ukraine is slightly more than 1% of annual defense budget of the United States. Certainly, we don't know for sure what exact number of Russian military machine has been destroyed over the last 19 months, but it appears that this amount would be maybe close to 50% of the accumulated military equipment and munitions that Putin has prepared just right before the last wide-scale invasion to Ukraine.
Wow, 50% of what he mobilized for the purposes of invading Ukraine. That doesn't speak to what else is still in his arsenal, but it's what he had brought to bear. Um, Andrei Illarionov, we have to take a short break. When we come back, I want to visit about the use of um, those weapons, respectively, by the Ukrainians and the Russians, and where do things stand at the moment as you see it, and where do they go from here? We'll be right back with more on all of that right after this.